everybody, Naughty President here with another ranking tier list video. With the closing of the 3DS and the Wii U eShop coming up, I decided to make another video about games that deserve Switch ports. And in this video, we're going to be talking about an underrated system that got lots of love, but not many people even play anymore, and that would be the Nintendo Wii. Yes, we're talking about the motion-controlled games console, Nintendo Wii. And we're going to be talking about the top 15 games I think deserve a Nintendo Switch port. Now, keep in mind, not all of these games are on the Wii shop, but some of them are. So, if you want to grab these before the Wii U eShop closes and get your hands on them, you might want to do that quickly because we only have a little bit of time. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into the video and get started on this list. Mario Super Sluggers was a follow-up game to the 2005 Nintendo GameCube game Mario Superstar Baseball. Now, this game borrowed a lot of elements from the previous game, but they also added in a bunch of new elements using the Wii motion controls, which I thought was really awesome. You got to swing the bat, catch the ball, all that stuff just like you would using motion controls. The game also had more depth and it had more narrative driven, like you had challenge mode where you could face off against a team captain and a bunch of opponents, and then once you beat them, you can recruit them to your team. You could also add 4 people onto your team, or 4 people can play at once, which I thought was really cool. So since we have, Mario Tennis, we got Mario Super Strikers coming out, we got we got Switch Sports coming out, we got Mario Golf, we got all the sports games, but we don't have any Mario Baseball. We need some more Mario Baseball. Now I could see this either getting a port, or what I actually see more likely happening is it getting a new Mario Sluggers. I'm okay with either one, but I just can't wait to get my hands on some more Mario Baseball. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions is a video game based on 4 different versions of Spider-Man, all from multiple different dimensions. You have to go through all the dimensions and obviously fix the problems throughout the dimensions, playing as each Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions was one of the games that was released across multiple different consoles, but the Wii version did happen, so I count it on this list. We've already seen that they're willing to port in games that were across multiple consoles, like Star Wars Force Unleashed, for example, that they just announced, that maybe this one will have a chance to get a port, even if it's just a Switch port. All they got to do is kind of enhance the graphics a little bit to fit bigger screens and to be on the Switch. Other than that, not much needs to be done to change this game. This is a very fun Spider-Man game that not a lot of people got their hands on for the newer consoles because it was stuck on the older consoles. So it would be great to port it into the Switch so the next generation of Spider-Man fans who have seen the new movies and stuff like that can get their hands on the multiversal Spider-Man game. I definitely think it's time for Spider-Man to come back to Nintendo, but with Sony owning Spider-Man, who knows if that's going to happen. Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn is a game based on a war-torn nation where the main character has to team up with her allies to rebel against the opposing army. The story is divided into 4 different parts, and it changes perspective between each factions as you continue throughout the story. Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn was one of the few Nintendo Wii games that didn't actually use motion controls. Now, Fire Emblem has always been a very popular franchise. A lot of people love the JRPGs that is Fire Emblem, and I think it deserves to be ported into the Switch because look how popular Three Houses did. It doesn't make sense to leave this one on the Switch, seeing as it doesn't use motion controls. This one would be very easy to port to the Switch. Now, before you start commenting, Prez, we already have Super Smash Ultimate, we don't need Smash Bros. Brawl on the Switch. I'm not talking about adding Smash Bros. Brawl to the Switch. I'm talking about specifically the story mode of Smash Bros. Brawl. Super Smash Bros. Brawl had the best story mode, in my opinion, of all the Smash Bros. I loved that the cinematic parts of the story were introduced and they were interactive once the Like you would have Meta Knight and Marth dash into the camera, and then that would cut away to them being able to choose, and it had a great final boss. I would love to see this available in some way on the Switch. I don't think it's going to happen. This is one I'm just adding in because I think it would be cool. I definitely don't see this ever happening, but I loved the story mode in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I think that the Smash Bros. Ultimate story mode is kind of boring. They don't make story modes like they used to anymore for Smash Bros, and that's kind of a bummer. So, like I said, this one I don't think is ever going to be brought to the Switch, but I'm putting it on here because I want it to be brought to the Switch. Madworld was a game that's kind of strange for the Wii, seeing as that back in 2009 it was more of a family-friendly console, but it was one of the most violent games on there. And another thing that was strange about it was it's one of the only games that was made purely in black and white. The only time you saw color was whenever there was blood and you see splatters of red everywhere on the screen. It's basically about a game show where they released a virus upon an island and then they blocked off the island. So they basically said anybody who kills another person would receive the vaccine. They called that show Death Watch. Jack was one of the guys on there who had a prosthetic arm who they attached a chainsaw to the arm, and he goes around murdering everybody so he can get prize money and get out of there with the vaccine. You play as Jack and you go around killing everybody. Madworld would be a really cool addition to the Switch because it does rely on motion controls, but that is easily adaptable with the Joy-Cons. And it would be a unique take on Nintendo games, seeing as that Nintendo is not afraid anymore to go more violent, seeing as that we've seen a lot more violent entries in the Nintendo Switch. So I think this would fit right at home with the Nintendo Switch as a port, and it would be a pretty fun game for a lot of people that didn't get to play this game. With the new Kirby game coming out, and it's trying a new idea for a new style of Kirby game, I was thinking maybe we could go back to when Kirby was trying a new idea again back in Nintendo Wii and bring in Kirby Epic Yarn. Now, Kirby Epic Yarn was a game that was not really challenging, but they really had a great time with being able to bring in two-player mode, and just it's visually super good. Like, it's just an easy game. It's just sit back, relax. It's family friendly, and you can just sit back and just play this visually great game. Now, in Kirby Epic Yarn, they got rid of the classic Kirby ability to suck up enemies, and they replaced it with the ability to change in different forms with the yarn aspect to the game. And I thought that was really cool. So bringing this into the Switch would not be that difficult, and it would be a really fun family-friendly game that they could bring in for everybody to play. Epic Mickey was a game released on the Nintendo Wii as an exclusive, and it really showed the power of the Wii with this really brilliant story of Mickey, how he messed up the world by accidentally unleashing a dark power and having to fix it while painting the world back with a magical brush. This game, again, like most Wii games, would be very easy to port into the Switch, being that the Joy-Cons still exist on the Nintendo Switch. The only downside is with all of these Joy-Con games for the Nintendo Switch is that it might be a little tough to do it for the Nintendo Switch Lite. So they might need to do some kind of way like they did with Skyward Sword and have it where it has button controls available as well. But Epic Mickey would definitely do well on the Switch as a fun motion-controlled platformer. Now I'm adding these two as one candidate because both of these games are both part of the Sonic Storybook saga, and they both came out on the Wii. I always thought it was very interesting putting Sonic in a new element, as in like putting him in Arabia or putting him as a knight and having Sonic have a sword. I thought that was a really cool thing. If they ported it in the Switch, and especially if they added in button controls for, say, people that want to use the Nintendo Lite and stuff like that, I think it would work really well if they could figure out a way to do that. I think that Sonic is always going to sell good on the Switch, and if they brought both of these games into the Switch, I think it'd sell decently well. A lot of people didn't play these games because they heard bad things about not being able to control Sonic very well. So if they fixed those problems and ported it into Switch, I think it would do really, really well. Now, Wario Shake It was one of the few Mario games that was actually a platformer instead of it being a bunch of mini games. It was it had fun story, it had actual great cutscenes where it was an actual animation. I think this game definitely deserves to be on Switch. Now, yes, it is called Mario Shake It. So yes, obviously, his whole thing is that you shake the Wii remote to move around and do stuff. And that could easily be ported into the Switch by just, making the Joy-Con. You shake the Joy-Con. But other than that, I think it'd be even smarter to have either the option to do that or just get rid of it completely. I know it's kind of irrelevant to its name, but if you make it where you just hit a button to do the stuff you need to do with the motion control and the shaking, then people that play it on light can easily play this game. Instead of it having to shake the remote to dig or something like that, you just hit a button, hold it down to dig, or if you need to pilot a boat or something like that with the motion controls, just move it with the joystick and all that stuff. It would be very simple to port into the Switch. This game definitely needs another breath of fresh air because this game was awesome and it definitely deserves to be ported into the Switch. Kirby Return to Dreamland is definitely one of the best Kirby games we ever got. It is by far, in my opinion, the best Kirby game we ever got brought to a console. This is pretty much one of my favorite Kirby games of all time. It's the classic Kirby formula where, side-scrolling platformer, you get to suck up people, take their abilities, and use them against other enemies. One of the cool things that this game added in, compared to all the other Kirby games, is that it had like a super mode that you could suck up your enemies and you could use a new and improved giant form of it. Like if you hail a swordsman, instead of it just being a normal sword character, you could use it and have a huge sword and take down tons of enemies and shooting tons of stars at a bunch of enemies. It was a really, really cool thing they added, and the campaign is actually really fun. Another element they added to this game series was the fact that they added in multiplayer. You could play with your friends online or offline, and you can enjoy being, other Kirbys and stuff like that, and teaming up and taking down bosses and bad guys with all of your friends. Overall, I think this game definitely deserves to be on Switch. I mean, the only thing that you really used the motion controls for was just shaking the controller to inhale bigger things and stuff like that. For the most part, you just use button controls, so this game would be very simple to add into the Switch and port it over, especially since we're getting more Kirby games on the Switch. I think that going back and getting some Kirby games in the library would definitely be a smart play for Nintendo. Kirby is a beloved franchise that a lot of people miss and they want more of, so this is definitely a game that should be ported into the Switch. Now, I will say this game would be one of the harder games to port into Switch, seeing as the entire game is based on motion controls. Now, because we've seen them be able to port in games from the Wii with strictly motion controls, case in point being No More Heroes, but it can be done. I don't know how they would even begin to make this be able to be playable on the Switch Lite, but I think it could still work being a motion control game. Red Steel 2 is a steampunk cowboys-esque style game where you play as the main character who wields a pistol and a sword, and you get upgrades and stuff like that, and you slicing down bad guys, taking down enemies, and hunting down bounties and stuff like that. And it's just a really, really fun, motion controlled Wii game that I absolutely loved it when I was younger. I don't know how much attention it got for the grand audience, but I absolutely loved this game. I think this would port over very well to Switch, like I said, as long as motion controls are not a big deal for people wanting to buy games for the Switch, and I think that it might sell well. A lot of people didn't even realize this game came out on the Wii because they had bigger titles than this. This one seems like it was more of a lesser known title. I only knew about it because my buddy bought it for me, and I just fell in love with the game. So yes, I think this definitely deserves to be ported to Switch. Now this is obviously a title I think will for sure come to Switch at some point in the future, but as of right now, it is not on the Switch. Every Metroid fan is just waiting for Metroid Prime 4, and we all know it's going to come. They've already announced it's going to come, but they have not said anything for sure definite about the Metroid Prime Trilogy coming to Switch. Everybody just kind of expects it to be there, and so do I, but as of right now, it is not officially coming to the Switch, so it is going to be on this list. Metroid Prime Trilogy is a collection of all the Metroid Prime games, a first-person shooter, Metroids that everybody loves, one from the GameCube, then one from the Wii, and they all are in one giant collection. These games are obviously meant for the Switch because they're making a Metroid Prime 4, so why would they not make the trilogy? These games would adapt very well to the Switch with the motion controls, even having them turned off if that's the way they want to go with the button controls because of the Switch Lite. But like I said, we all know it's coming. We're all expecting it, so buckle up, all you Metroid fans, and get ready for a Metroid trilogy. Mario Galaxy 2 is the sequel to the original Mario Galaxy, and it's, in my opinion, better than the first one. There's certain things about the Mario Galaxy 2 game that I do think did better than the first one. We've already seen how well the first one did on the Switch, so the second one would obviously do just as well on the Switch as well. This first one was very innovative, and it changed the way people looked at Mario by having, the planets and the gravity and all that stuff was a great added thing. And then Mario Galaxy 2 came in and did the same thing, but they added a bunch of stuff and they made the game better. In my opinion, adding in Yoshi in playable levels. They even added where you could play as Luigi in certain levels. They had different kind of puzzles, they had different kind of power-ups, and it just improved the game in every way, in my opinion. I do love this game, and I do truly think that this game deserves to be on the Switch. Now, do I see this game coming out as a standalone port to the Switch? I'm not entirely sure, because they put out the Mario All-Star Trilogy as, having Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Sunshine, and Mario 64 all as a triple pack for, the standard price for a game. So I don't know if this game would come out as a port, or if they would make this bundled into another, collection kind of thing. I'm not entirely sure, but I do think that at some point we might see this game on the Switch, and I really hope we do, because it definitely deserves to be on the Switch. The Paper Mario series has always been my very favorite Mario series of all time. It started when I very first played Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. Now this is the sequel to that game, Super Paper Mario, that came out on the Wii. The one thing that differs from Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door is that the Thousand Year Door was a turn-based RPG. This one, however, it goes back to its roots of Mario and going to be a side-scrolling Paper Mario game, where you can swap out between characters and use their different abilities to continue on through the level. It still has the fun, hilarious comedy storylines that Paper Mario games are known for, but it just has a different style of playing as you play the game. I always think that all the Paper Mario games should be on the Switch. I think since we got Origami King now on the Switch, and we now have we have the original Paper Mario on Nintendo Online, that it's only a matter of time before we get Thousand Year Door and we get Super Paper Mario for the Switch. I truly think that these games would be fantastic on the Switch. You got yes, you have to use the motion controls in most of the game, but that can be used. You can use the Joy-Con, or you can, they'll figure out a way to translate it well into the Switch. But I do think this game deserves to be on the Switch. Punch-Out is my #1 pick for Wii games that deserve a port. It is by far one of my favorite games on the Wii, and it showed how well the Wii's motion control could do for the console. I have tons of memories playing this game, as endless amounts of fun, battling all the weird opponents that you get to battle throughout the series. I think this game would do really well on the Switch because we don't have any other Punch-Out games besides the Super NES one that they brought in to Nintendo Online. This is by far the best game, in my opinion, to show how far motion controls for the Switch have come compared to the Wii. Now, this game, again, would not be able to translate well into the Switch Lite unless they want to try to program it to be able to have button controls, but honestly, I don't really see that happening. If this game ever does come to the Switch, it needs to stay in motion controls. That was the charm of the game. You felt like you were a boxer. You got to swing your fists around just like in a boxing match. This game is perfect to come to the Switch, and it is not by far my #1 pick to come to the Switch. Well, there you have it, folks. The top 15 Wii games that I think deserve a port to the Nintendo Switch. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe while you're here. Hit that notification bell to be updated on everything I do on my channel, to keep up on all my stuff on your phone or on your computer. If you like or dislike anything that was on this video, comment below what you think is the best video games to come to the Nintendo Switch from the Wii, and I'll read them and I'll respond to you. Like I said, make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos on this channel. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you guys next time. See you later.